Hey, thanks for joining me today. Today we're going to cover 5 of the most interesting Hoyas with very unique leaves, especially from each other. And as a special bonus, I'm going to include 2 extra ones, so you actually get 7 Hoyas with incredibly different and diverse foliage from each other. We'll go one by one, and then I'll do some close-up shots of each so you can see what they look like and give a little bit of background if I know what they're from and things like that. So we have to start somewhere. So let's start with that one. The first one, Hoya rotundiflora. So with this guy, he's an extremely cool Hoya because of the shape of his leaf. So this guy is from Thailand, and he has a fuzzy leaf structure to him. Now I have some mineral deposits on the leaves from the heavy misting, but ultimately the leaves will be bright and shiny just like this. It's a pretty fast growing Hoya. When I got it, it was just a clump of about 5 leaves. So in the 6 months I've had it, I've been able to get this very long growth of one tendril, and then it's starting another tendril while it actually lost the original tendril that was on there. But this Hoya is just, I love the leaves. You don't ever see this kind of oblong, they call it rotundiflora, but I'm like, huh? It's just oblong with a rounded end, and that is so cool. Another close-up. So this one is Hoya rotundiflora. For the next one, we'll go with this beautiful and slow-growing Hoya, Hoya sigillatis. This Hoya is very unique in the fact that it has slightly reddish purple in its leaves, along with a lot of mottling and splotchiness, and then this really cool, almost grayish black coloring in the leaves. It's from Borneo, and I wouldn't say is a finicky Hoya, but it is a little bit more difficult to grow. It is very slow growing, and it likes average everything. It likes average temperature, average water. With it, you don't ever want it to completely dry out nor stay too damp. It literally is one of those Hoyas where it's going to want to be put in a place, and once it's in a happy place, you're going to want to keep it there from then on out. It does have a very small flower that smells like caramel, which I think is pretty awesome. I mean, the trick is this guy will take off once he's fully rooted and once he's very happy, but you're just going to have to find out where that place is. He does like artificial light, so if you do grow it inside, just place it under some high LED light, but make sure that the room temperature is just average, and like I said, the water is just average, and then I think you're gonna have success with this Hoya. Next up, let's talk about Hoya endauensis. This Hoya has really cute undulated leaves. The entire leaf is wavy, actually, I would say. And the leaves are maybe twice the size as a fingernail. This plant is from Malaysia and considered threatened and endangered in its native habitat. So it's a very good thing that we are growing it in the hobby trade. What I would say about this Hoya is that it is one of the more challenging ones to grow. For example, my original plant, which this is the cutting from, used to be about 40 times the size of this. And it was super happy living outside, even in our cold nighttime temperatures. In a week, something happened that he didn't like, and it was literally almost dead within a week after that. So 2 weeks, almost died. I took some cuttings. This one made it and is happily regrowing. So with this guy, I would say it's also a lover of higher humidity, higher temperatures, and pretty steady growth or environmental controls. So this is kind of like the sigillatis. You want to find a spot that it's happy and keep it there. It doesn't really like to be moved. It's been said that this is a very slow growing Hoya. Yes, at the beginning, because this took me quite a long time to get this cutting back to this size. However, the growth now is exponential in what it's doing. I mean, we're talking it is super rapid now. I have this long tendril just developing over the last couple of weeks. It's going to start taking off. It does like to be fertilized with, there are a couple of products out there, but anything that contains beneficial or mycorrhiza, that's gonna be really good for this. And then its blooms are incredible orange and red. And this is Hoya endauensis. On to the next Hoya is going to be Hoya callistophylla. I'm a little embarrassed about this Hoya right now, and I'll tell you why. This Hoya used to be an amazing color of green with dark green veins, and I was curious why it was on a decline. In fact, it even bloomed a couple of places. I have 2 peduncles. But then I noticed that this kind of very chlorotic looking leaf was forming. I even tried to clean their leaves recently. It's still beautiful like this, but it's actually supposed to be a darker green than this. This is one Hoya that does like it cooler, a little bit more shady, and I wouldn't say damp, but a little more moist. So when I had it growing the best and it was beautiful, I'll see if I can find a photo of what it used to look like. It was so happy, but in my not so wise ways, I moved it to a sunnier, drier spot. And that's when this happened. So this bad boy is going back into a cooler, wetter, shadier area, and then it should recover fully. I also did do a repotting just in case it was something to do with the soil mix, and I'm gonna introduce some mycorrhiza into the soil as well, and I expect it to have a full recovery. But this is Hoya callistophylla. On to the next Hoya now, Hoya fitchii. I really don't like to play favorites because seriously, every Hoya on this table is one of my favorites. That's why I chose it. For interesting colored leaves, interesting shape and size of leaves, interesting something, like they're just for the foliage, all very, very unique. And there is one reason I really like this one. This is a bushy Hoya with absolutely stunning leaves. The veins are a little bit more white than the leaf itself. And all in all, you cannot beat how clumping it is. This Hoya is from the Philippines and it's a pretty easy grower. So actually, if it's gonna be one of your first Hoyas, that's a good thing. It doesn't require a whole lot. I would say it likes it a little bit more humid, right in the middle of the lighting, not too bright, not too dark. You'll get amazing differentiations in the leaves depending on the way you grow it and the lighting. General purpose fertilizer. In the Philippines, a guy named Charles Fitch discovered it. Also, it has beautiful, beautiful kind of orangey red flowers. So this is one of the Hoyas I would say is for anyone. This Hoya is easy to grow, easy to care for. Just find a good spot in your house. It's okay with artificial light. It's okay in a greenhouse. It's just really good. The next Hoya in my list is Hoya clemensiorum. This is from Sabah, Borneo, and just the leaves are very, very cool. This Hoya, you can get a couple of different variations of it. This is the long leaf version, so it's going to be probably around 8 to 10 inches when it's fully grown. Very stiff leaves, almost a serration on all the sides. There's also a short leaf version, which isn't quite as stiff in my opinion, and doesn't have quite the serrations, but definitely has the veiny structure. There's also a version of this long one where it is bright blood red and unmistakably beautiful. Stunning, stunning, stunning. There's a long distance between nodes on this, so you're actually going to do best trellising this or putting it in a nice high hanging basket so it can trail down. The blooms on this, some people love. Some people said they don't smell that great, but I'll let you know as soon as it blooms for me. The one thing about this, it is a slow grower, so be patient. Only puts out between 1 to 4 leaves per year. I've had this probably about 8 to 9 months, and this entire tendril, which is very, very long, is new. And then I have 1 new leaf, this leaf right here. So it came with 1, 2, 3, 4 leaves. I have 1 full grown mature leaf and then a very long tendril. That's all it's done in 8 to 9 months. Last but not least, you cannot go wrong with any of these Hoyas. They are all so very different, give you so many different traits. They're all amazing. And then the next one on my list, it'll be the last one we go through, Hoya curtisii. Hoya curtisii has little leaves. I mean, barely bigger than my fingernail. Very mottled or splashes everywhere. The undersides are pretty basic, but the entire leaf is kind of like a purplish, grayish, blackish color. And that's just pretty damn amazing as well. I wouldn't say this Hoya is challenging, but I would say that it's not the easiest Hoya to grow. For one, this has been grown under artificial light, so it really brings out the differences in the leaf. The one in the greenhouse has much greener leaves, and I don't know if it's because it's in a shadier spot, because when it was in a kind of a brighter spot it was also warmer and it didn't love it. It also loves to have a lot of humidity but to dry out completely between watering. So this is one of the ones where you're gonna have to either have a spritz it or spray it and keep it very humid and then wait till it dries out completely and then rewater it. But it is worth it. The one in the greenhouse is maybe 4 or 5 times this size, but because the leaves weren't quite so pronounced, I just wanted to show this one off. And this is Hoya curtisii. All right, so thank you so much for joining me today. I had a lot of fun going over these 7 Hoyas, not 5. See, you got 2 bonus ones. These Hoyas, which are all so different from each other. Again, this is what fascinates me about plants. This is all the same type of plant with such different variations in the way they grow, the leaf structure, the coloring of the leaves, the way they vine, the flowers, the way they smell, all of that stuff. It's just you could not get a more varied selection except maybe an orchid. Orchids are the same things. There's so much variety. What's not to love? So you can go very small, very big, everything in between. And just remember to have fun. Hoyas are all about like just having a really good time, enjoying the beauty they bring you, the beautiful blooms and the fragrance. And so that's why I grow them. So please stay tuned next time. I'm going to be bringing you a lot more of these Hoya videos because they just bring me so much happiness, and I hope you join me next time. Thanks. Bye.